I did special education before at this school as well, and I didn't really have a presence in the room. So once I became a lead, I was like, if I got an act teacher, I would have to get them presents because I knew how it felt to stand in the back and just walk around and never get to the front and lead. So once we started planning, that's what it became. Like, oh, you lead this, can you lead this day? And it was like kinesthetic. It just clicked.
Yeah, I feel like it clicked, and also because there was not a lot of ego involved, and I think that's key. When there's not a lot of ego involved, when it's not this is my classroom, you can kind of jump in, or you can kind of be in the background and circulate. And I think that the benefit of Miss Levy having an ACT background made our relationship possible. So I do think it's really effective when you have teachers who know what it is to be a special education teacher in an ICT setting looks like. And so I think immediately, we agreed, is it okay if I lead the warm-up? Yeah, like, can I lead the warm-up? Yeah, she was like, sure. And
even so, you even like helped me with lessons. So if I came to her with a question like, I don't really know how I should go about this, she's like, well, maybe we should do this. So it was like taking on each other's ideas.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I did. Like, although the lessons were already planned, we still sat down and looked them over and figured out who was going to do what, and it just worked out that way.
And we played to each other's strengths.
Right.
So there are some things that Ms. Levy is a lot more skilled at, and there are things that I did a little bit better, or there's things that I thought I did better that, and so it worked because it was a give and take.
Okay, so I would say that it's not about your relationship, it's about the kids, honestly. So if you don't have a relationship, then kids can honestly notice. I'm just being honest. They can see when, like, and I've had that experience where they're like, you're not the lead teacher, you're just an ACT teacher, you don't work with me. So it's good for kids to see, like, we don't know who's the ACT teacher, we just think that both of them lead. So you don't want to put that presence in front of the kids that I'm the lead and she's just an ACT teacher, so come to me, don't go to her. So you want to make that known that we're both teachers and we're both in front of the room, we both are here to help. So that's why it's important to have that relationship, because if you don't have the relationship, then one, the kids will notice, and two, you'll see the disorganization within the class.
And then I think it will lead the teacher who's seen as sort of the extra help teacher, their role will start to feel less valuable. And whether or not, I think that almost 99% of the time, students do notice who is content and who is ACT. And that's just simply because an ACT teacher does work with struggling students. So they're going to notice anyway. But I think when both teachers feel valued and valuable in the space and the setting, where kids feel like, okay, even though Ms. Clark works primarily with students who struggle, when I consult with her about something, she knows, and she knows how to guide me, and she's able to help me. So I think both teachers, really it's important for them to have a role and a presence in the classroom, not necessarily the title or sharing, we're both lead, sure, of course, but there are things that I think the content teacher is able to do that the ACT teacher is not necessarily able to do. And that's just by design, that's just what it is. But in order for the relationship to work with the two teachers, again, the feeling of being valued and a cohesiveness in instruction and delivery of instruction, so that all students are able to see, well, even though this teacher works with the SPED kids mostly, or that ACT students mostly, he or she is still a leader and is valuable, and I can go to them for help or for anything classroom related. I think mutual respect is the first. Right. Respect for each other's skill sets. And I think that sometimes people think of that as, okay, I get along with you.
Right.
Whether or not you get along with me is not important. The respect needs to be there. You need to respect that I'm a professional.
Right.
Respect me as a professional. Respect me enough to take time to plan with me. Respect me enough to design a classroom that includes both of us. Right. I think that is the key. And also, if they're as cool as Ms. Lee,
I would say that you have to be open-minded, because everybody has different ideas, honestly. And it's some things that I didn't even think of that she would come up with, and I would use it in another class that wasn't an ICT class. And then you would have to, don't just pick at the ICT kids as well. So I picked that up from her as well. Like, it's other kids that struggle outside of ICT kids, so that takes time to plan. Like she would write down the list, and I'm like, oh, can you take this person as well, because I see that they're struggling and they need help, and that's a student that doesn't have an IEP. So you have to be open-minded to each other's ideas, not only to the fact that we're both professionals and who has the most experience, because we have to work with the kids either way. So one, you have to sit down and you have to plan. Two, you have to see what works within the class and what doesn't. So if it's something that I put down that didn't work, we can take that out. What can we change? And that would take both of us to do that, because we both have the presence in the classroom, and that's kind of how it works with us.
Because disagreements are going to come up. It's going to happen that you may want something different than your co-teacher.
Right.
All right, and that's where the respect comes in, because there has to be a type of common ground, and that doesn't happen without some level of planning. Even if you're not necessarily planning the content, the delivery of it, meaning, oh, okay, so you wanted to teach this method. I don't really like that method. I'd rather teach this one. There has to be a place for both methods to be taught,
right.
And that's something that I struggled with in the past with other co-teachers I've worked with, is that one way of doing things. So I think particularly anticipate where there's going to be a disagreement, and really decide, how are we going to deal with this? What are we going to do in order to make it so that you're heard, I'm heard, and then more importantly, it works, for the kids that we teach.